Hi everyone and welcome to the Jeff Bulls Show. Today with me, Jeremy Epstein. Now, Jeremy and I have known each other since social media was a twinkle in everyone's eye. And it was the Wild West. And we sort of met, I think, crossing the prairies of social media as we went for the promised land. And it was fun. And Jeremy and I met. Now, Jeremy's renowned for calling about 2,000 people a year to say happy birthday. In fact, one of the reasons he's on the show is because he did ring me on my birthday, and I quickly rang him back and we had a conversation. We hadn't one in a couple of years. So welcome to the show, Jeremy. It's just an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's an honor to be with the legend himself, so thank you.
Well, don't know about the legend part, but I'll take it while I can get
You're
it.
a legend in your own house. There you go.
I'm a legend in my own mind, that's right.
There you go.
Okay. So, Jeremy sort of started out, well, I didn't start out, we're not going to go that far back because, you know, we might get back to his childhood and that might be a bit scary, but Jeremy was the CMO for a company called Sprinklr, which is one of the first automated marketing platforms, which he was their CMO right from the beginning, and I think around 14 or something employees. And when he left, there was 1,400 employees and had a valuation of $1 billion. We call them unicorns. So Jeremy has some real, I suppose, the spurs to prove it that he's actually achieved results. And then he left them because he was about halfway up the corporate ladder and decided to leap off because didn't want to get up too high, would have hurt himself. So he then went into the world of crypto a bit and started a consulting company on the edge of that called Never Stop Marketing. Now, Jerry might correct me if I'm wrong on some of the detail, but then he's become quite passionate and curious about the world of cryptocurrency. In the meantime, he's also become the CMO of a company called Gtmhub, and they do things that are important for businesses. And we're going to talk a bit about both. We're going to talk about crypto, and we're going to also talk about OKRs and Gtmhub and what it means. Now, OKRs, I usually don't use acronyms, so I'm going to explain what OKRs mean, because I say if you see an acronym, shoot it, because it's corporate speak. So OKRs are very simple. Objectives and key results. So that's what Gtmhub does. It actually provides a software as a service platform to help businesses achieve key results. So I'm going to talk about that first, then we're going to leap into his side hustle, which is cryptocurrency and investment in that area. And so Jeremy is what we call, he has a main job, but he also has a side hustle. And a lot of people, the numbers on side hustles are amazing. I think 40% of Americans have a side hustle, which is also known as a side job. So, but Jeremy is actually, how can I describe it? He's actually got a side hustle that's approved by his day job, because they don't care, as long as he gets his objectives and achieves key results, he's able to do his side hustle with abandon. So I've sort of maybe mixed it up a little bit here, but I think we've hit the two. We've got OKRs, Gtmhub, day job, and the side hustle we're going to talk about later. So Jeremy, tell me a little bit, let's go back to Sprinklr.
Sure.
And sort of like, this was the beginning of automation in the whole social media, digital marketing space. And this is quite a fascinating area because we both leapt into social media about 12 years ago, and it was the Wild West. It was fun, wasn't it?
It was crazy. We had a great time.
Yeah.
That's how we met. I mean,
We did.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And to those of you who maybe weren't there at the beginning or weren't that involved in the beginning of social media, is that it was the Wild West. It was just crazy. There were no tools. Everyone was having authentic conversations. We were connecting globally with tribes of people that had similar interests. And that was, for me, that was fantastic about social media, was it allowed you to connect with your global tribe. unfettered. And it was this beautiful intersection of humanity and technology that was both the Wild West, it was authentic, it was real, and that's before it got spoiled by the big corporations that applied algorithms. And now almost the algorithms keep us from connecting because the corporates, the Facebooks of this world, the Instagrams, the Twitters want to push us into their tribes and their connections and their algorithms, controlled by the algorithms. Right. So how did you get into Sprinklr, and what was the motivation behind that, Jeremy?
Yeah. So, well, again, thank you for having the show, and thank you for those kind words to open. I mean, I think, I started blogging in 2000, which I guess you could even say is the very, very beginning of social media. But really, I had Facebook in 2004, Twitter in 2007. And like you, I quickly realized, like, wow, this is a way to have authentic conversations with people all over the world. And I started to not just think about the arrival of the tools, but what was the significance of the arrival of this technology on the scene? And the conclusion I came to around 2008, 2009 was that this was going to fundamentally change marketing, where I'd spent most of my entire career. And I said, wow, we have lived for the last 50 years in this one-way broadcast media, which now sounds obvious to everybody. But back in 2008 and 2009, when you and I were starting, most people thought this was heresy. Like, and now we say, no, the customer's empowered, the customer's voice. It's United Breaks Guitars was like the classic example of the empowered customer, right? And so we started to think about, well, what happens now that customers really have a voice that can be amplified and multiplied, globally, basically for free? And I started to think about the consequences of that. I said, wow, that fundamentally changes marketing into this two-way discussion from a one-way monologue. And I started to think about, well, what do companies and what do people need? Well, that's when I was introduced to the CEO of Sprinklr, who showed me version 0.9, basically, of the software as a platform to help large organizations ideally have authentic conversations with global audiences in the millions across teams and divisions and business units, while knowing at any touch point, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, it's always Jeff Bullis. And we know the relationship we have with him, and we treat him like a person because that's who he is. And so once I saw this technology, I said, wow, this guy is building the software that I think everybody's going to need at some point, if we're going to realize what I thought was a beautiful semi-utopic vision of, real authentic conversations between companies and brands and people and their customers and their community. And we could build this new community and tribes, like you said. And as you point out, in some respects that's happened, but in some respects it really hasn't. And we've gone into this dark corner that we now all reside in. So, but it was a great ride, and we had a wonderful time along the way. And I like to think we delivered and created a lot of value along the way. At least I tell myself that.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see Sprinklr came out of the gate pretty early in terms of, and also targeted enterprise, wasn't it? So like the larger end of town more than anything else. Since that day, I think the number I heard recently was the number of marketing software as a service platforms globally now is 5,000. Just in marketing. I'm not talking anything else. I'm not talking remote management tools. I'm not talking whatever. It's 5,000 marketing
It's platforms. Probably more than that. I mean, I get hit by 5,000 pitches a day, so I think it's more.
Yeah. But what was interesting back then in 2008, 2009, as everyone piled into social media and got excited, I did start to automate using some very blunt tools that were so blunt that they actually broke the rules of Twitter, and I got banned for 6 hours.
Nice.
I was devastated. I said, "Don't you know who I am?" And they reinstated me anyway. So
they didn't care.
I can remember it was on a Friday, and luckily my weekend was happy. So I got reinstated by the end of the day. But what was interesting though is as I tried these really raw tools, is that and the tools I was using was just following people at scale, because I realized that the problem with manual social media was you had to be there all the time.
Right.
You had to be manually tweeting. And I went, I'm not going to get anything done.
Right.
So I started using automation, and you should have seen the people give me a hard time about automating social media, because what people loved about social media was it did connect humans to humans. So when the machine started automating the conversations, and now we've got not only that, creating the conversations with AI creating content today.
Yep.
We've gone into a whole different space. But back then, everyone was really upset at me because I had started automating, I think, 2010. So, so Sprinklr grew quite rapidly, and where's it up to today? I haven't seen much.
Well, they're doing really well. There was an article on TechCrunch that they confidentially filed their S1 for an IPO, so that's hopefully going to work out well for the company. But yeah, company's been growing. Most recent valuation was just under 3 billion, and doing well. Have the bulk of the Fortune 500 now use Sprinklr for managing all of their social experiences across all of these channels. So the company's done really well, and I'm honored to have played a very small part at the beginning of that.
Yeah. So, what was the motivation to, grab a box, empty your desk, and run away?
Well, you sort of alluded to it. Look, I've been there for 4.5 years, and I really enjoyed my time. But as a marketer, I tell people I prefer storming the beaches as opposed to plowing across France and Germany. I want to land in Normandy, and it's much more exciting for these category creating early stage technology. So to your point, when I jumped into Sprinklr, people thought we were crazy that social media was going to be a thing. By the time I left, it was obvious. So I said, okay, my work here is done. Let me go find the next big wave to ride. So I sort of was looking around trying to figure out what was next. And I had purchased my first Bitcoins back in 2013. I sold too many along the way, but I had a few, and I said, what the hell are these things anyway? Like, what are they? And I spent literally 6 months reading everything I get my hand on. I probably read, 350 white papers over the course of 6 months. And there was a day where I just sort of, this was, I guess, late 2016, where I just sort of sprang up off my couch, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is a tsunami, and most people don't even know it's coming. And I was like, blockchain, decentralized technologies, cryptocurrencies, crypto assets it was the missing piece for the internet and social, because the internet accelerated the flow of information. Social media accelerated the flow of conversations. Decentralized technologies and blockchains accelerates the flow of value. We still have these three. I mean, if you've ever sent money to the US from Australia, it takes like 3 weeks and you pay $80 in fees. That's insane. Why do we have that in a world where you and I are talking real time and, and we're tweeting and all that stuff? Blockchain can solve that at scale. And that's where I said, wow, this thing's big. I need to be involved. And then I spent, the next 4.5 years, I wrote 3 books. I wrote, probably 1,000 blog posts, 150 articles. I briefed generals at the Pentagon on it. I gave a bunch of keynotes around the world. I advised startups in the space around their crypto and marketing effort. And I just said, I need to just learn everything I can about this, because to me, this felt like Internet 1.0 all over again, but bigger, if you could believe that.
Yeah, I suppose social media democratized the conversation.
Yep.
Crypto's almost democratized finance.
Bingo. You got it. Yeah.
I'm going to put that in quotes, I think, and sell it. Yeah.
It's yours. It's open source. Like everything in crypto, it's open source. You can have it.
Okay. Excuse me. So you discovered the next big thing that you were fascinated by and curious as heck about.
Yep.
So I want to maybe go back to crypto next, but I want to leap into, because I think it's important that we actually go to the acronym OKR, and because we're having conversations here and we have a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and I think your day job effectively that gives you the means to follow your passion and interest, and which is crypto. So tell us about OKRs and Gtmhub and why it's important for business and business owners to actually embrace that. Tell us a bit about where OKRs came from, objectives and key results, and a little bit about the company, how it works, and then we're going to go back into crypto. I think that'd be
we can put a stick in that one for now, no problem. So it's interesting. So I was introduced to the CEO of Gtmhub just about a year ago now, right at the beginning of COVID time. And I started to explore and I was basically introduced in the capacity as a marketing advisor. The VC who I knew said, these guys need a little bit of marketing help. Can you spend some time with them? And I said, I've heard of OKRs, but I really had no idea what they are. I mean, I didn't know what they were. So I started to do some reading and I had another oh shit moment. And my oh shit moment with OKRs was basically, this is going to be the methodology that everybody uses in a knowledge economy, which everybody's going to be in, whether they want to be or not. Now, why did I have that oh shit moment? I'll tell you. I'm glad you asked, Jeff. OKRs is as simple as it gets. I know you don't like acronyms, and I totally respect, your dislike of TLAs, right? But exactly, I'm going to try to drop as many acronyms as I can in the next 10 minutes. But OKR stands for objectives and key results. The classic example is I want to get in better shape. That's my objective. But that's meaningless absent of key results. So does getting in better shape mean you're going to be able to run a marathon? Does it mean you're going to lose 10 kilos? Does it mean your blood pressure is going to be down? Does it mean your waist size? What are the results you're going for? Because if you choose a certain set of results, that will then inform what are the strategic steps you need to take to achieve that objective as you define them by your key results. So what OKRs allow any organization to do, and remember, this goes all the way back to Peter Drucker. He's like the grandfather of OKRs. OKRs were invented essentially in their modern form by Andy Grove at Intel. They were implemented at Google in the early 2000s. And remember, Google was the 16th search engine, right? They weren't first. They used OKRs to drive 10x growth because what it does is it simplifies the objective for every single person in the organization and allows for strategy to be communicated as effectively as possible, because it's like an international language. What's your objective and what are the results? You don't have PowerPoints, you don't have emails, you don't have all this stuff where strategy gets decay. You have strategic decay over time. This is the result I need from you. I need you to increase, our objective is improve our Google ranking. What are the key results? Number one would be, increase our page rank to this, improve our SEO ranking, our domain rank to this, whatever it is, very specific criteria that anybody that says, aha, I know what I need to do, but here's the secret sauce. OKRs are as much about what you don't do as what you do. And that's the meditation. That's the discipline of saying, I've set my OKR for the quarter, and now I'm not going to do anything else. That's my priority. And the ability to put all of that energy. Now, yes, do we get caught up in other stuff? Sure, that's what happens. But every single day, what is your primary objective? What are the key results? And they give you that focus. They give you the accountability because you're making a promise to your organization, to your partners, to your customers. They give you that ability to stretch and go out above it and encourage people to be creative. And they give transparency. Every single person in the organization knows what everybody else's OKRs are. So once I started to get my head around this, I was like, everybody's going to use this. It's so powerful. It's like discovering nuclear power. I was like, everyone's going to use this. Now, you can do OKRs by yourself, Jeff, on a whiteboard. You could do it with PowerPoint. You could do it in Excel. Not a problem. But once you start getting beyond 2 or 3 people and you want real-time results to know, real-time data to know how are you tracking against your key results, it's really difficult to do at scale without software. And that's where Gtmhub comes in. We're the leader in the space. We work with Adobe and CNN and Société Générale, all the way down to 2 and 3 and 5 person companies and everyone in between. We just raised $30 million in the largest Series B in the history of the category. And we're growing very, very rapidly. And, so I think it's exciting to be a part of something that's going to be so critical to driving alignment through the organizations that are comprised of knowledge workers. And that's who everybody is listening to. Everyone who's listening is one of them, because that's what we all are, unless you're working on the assembly line. But I don't think most of these guys are.
Yeah, I think on that.
Sorry, I get fired up sometimes.
No,
man.
it's
It
good.
just happens. Okay.
Well, I think the number I heard is the people that can work. The COVID thing really brought into sharp focus how many knowledge workers there are, and I think as a percentage of the population or workforce, it's about 42%, early 40%. Yep. So 42% of the population can be remote workers. So then the rest, you got to trucks have got to be driven. Well, at the moment they have to be. There's people that have to be at hospitals, right? At the moment, it's not done by robots yet. But the whole health industry, transport, there's still a big majority of workers actually not knowledge workers, but 40% still a big number. And I think what I loved about it, so one of the 4 main benefits of OKRs, objectives and key results.
No acronyms. Right?
Well, follow quickly with an explanation.
Right, exactly.
So, number 1 is alignment, which you mentioned. In other words, getting the business aligned, the team aligned, focus, getting sharp focus. The other one, as you said, was transparency, which I thought was great. In other words, this is what we're doing. And you can see it all. And I think the platform,
and everybody knows. Yep.
And the last one is engagement. Everyone then gets engaged because they know what they're meant to be doing. And I think that's
a really important point, because now as a knowledge worker, you own your outcomes. This is a mindset shift that we're going through on a level. If you think about the Industrial Revolution, we measured on output. How many widgets could you turn per hour, all tailorization and all that stuff. Now in knowledge workers, I don't really care how much time you spend doing a certain task. This is where, turns into the side hustle. I'm able to have a quote unquote full-time job because I have an OKR mentality, which is, as the CMO, I have certain outcomes, results that the company expects from me on a quarterly basis. If I deliver that 1 day a week or 7 days a week, nobody cares. It's not about time. It's about value and results. Same thing with my investors on my fund, right? They don't care about how much time they spend. They care about how much they get in return. So the mindset shift that OKRs enable is we're going to be outcome focused. We're not going to be, billing by time and materials. That's different mentality. I'm going to deliver value to you. The result is what you're paying for, not for my time. OKRs are the single best proven methodology to help people develop an outcome results oriented mindset.
Yeah, and I think I love that. And in fact, you talked about you've got to work out what you shouldn't be doing along with what you should be doing. And
that's the hard part.
And you know what? All of us have got tons of great ideas. The trouble is, if you tell your team, I've got 10 ideas, you've just defocused them. There's no alignment. And I've sort of turned into a one-trick pony every 12 months now. That's what I'm sort of heading towards, right? So last year, my main gig I did was launch the podcast, and now we're 50 plus in, and I'm playing the long game on this because for me, it's having these conversations with some of the smartest people in the shed that can share their insights about how to grow a business in a digital world, how to start one, how to optimize it. And that's why we're having the conversation today. And so the podcast for me was, okay, social media for me is great, but that train's left the station now as far as being something I'm really, really fascinated by. It's been industrialized. It's no longer
the secret's
fun.
Out.
Yep, that's right. So for me, what we're trying to do now is, I suppose, take what I've learned over the last 12 years as just starting a blog and starting a side hustle, because I had a day job as business developer for a digital agency. And for 4 years, I did that and did the side hustle with their permission.
Yep.
Until it got to a point where I was traveling a fair bit, speaking around the world, and they sort of pulled me aside and said, Jeff, you're not that focused on what we're doing. We're going to have to cut you down to 3 days a week. Then they cut me down to 2 days a week. So what happened was my side hustle became my main hustle.
Right.
And I sort of got myself slowly fired. But I didn't have to burn bridges.
Right.
Chris, I could, and this is what's fantastic about the world we live in today, the digital world, the tech economy, is you can use tools to work from anywhere in the world, especially if you're a knowledge worker.
Yep.
And that's 40% of you plus. And this is what's rather exciting is, and this is why I think the objectives and key results, the OKRs, are fascinating as well, because I've got one project I want to do this year. One. And
what is it? Let's do your OKRs right now. What's your objective for this year?
I'm launching a platform that's going to help people start and build their side hustle. That's
okay,
it.
So in OKR speak, we want to make the objective wants to be qualitative and inspirational. So basically, you want to inspire people to be the best versions of themselves or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff, fantastic. It's March 2021. Next year, when I come back on the podcast, your key results, what are they? So that we know whether you've achieved that objective. What would some of your key, and just the last rule of thumb, you want to have between 3 and 5 key results. More than that, and you lose focus. Fewer than that, and it's not going to be robust enough. So maybe you want to come up with 3 key results to let us know quantifiably that you've achieved that objective of inspiring all of your listeners to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, and I'm going to set some revenue numbers, some customer numbers, and also
fantastic.
And then I think we need to measure something that's more on the qualitative side, not just the quantitative side as well. So
key results must be, no, you can't do that. I can't let you out of that one, Jeff. It's a result. A result has to be quantitative and measurable. We all have to be measurable. Exactly. Okay. So the revenue number works, the customer's number works, and you'll have to come up with something else that's that third measurable.
Okay. So you could maybe measure qualitative results by customer retention, which would be a data point.
That would be good. That would work. Retain 93% of your customers.
Exactly. So
there you go.
Yeah. So I no longer just come up with 10 ideas in my weekly call with my marketing manager going, this is what we're doing. And this is when we're launching. And this is a great conversation to have because I have realized it's important to not, as you said, it's not only the focus, it's what you don't do that becomes really important. In other words, if I'm off running and chasing rainbows, it's a problem.
Yeah. And when you go to your marketing manager, you can say to him or her, let's set your OKRs. And then you leave them alone. You empower them. They feel engaged. It's like, this is what I need you to do to help me. You see that alignment and you can think about that. And then you step back and you give the knowledge worker the space to be creative and do what they do best.
Yep.
Instead of micromanaging.
Yep. And I'm not a micromanager. In fact,
I'm not accusing you of that.
No. But what's fun is I've certainly learned over the last couple of years. And one of the reasons I launched the podcast last year and I drove that right from the beginning and I did a lot of the initial work because I needed to understand how it worked. But then I delegated. And most of what I can do now is I do this. I have a fantastic conversation. I then upload it into the cloud, and then the editors, voice, video, the blog, it's all done by the team. So, and this is the other interesting thing I've learnt too by having these conversations is that, and looking at other ones like GitHub, for example, which is, they document everything they do. In other words, if you document it, then you can scale it because then you've got a template. So we're also, as part of the administration side, also starting to document everything we do. We've got a small team, but I think you can't scale unless you've got a template, and that means you've got to document what you're doing. And
yeah, that's for sure.
But what's really fascinating, I've mentioned this before, but GitHub have a open source documentation of what they do in the company, and it's 8,500 pages. It's actually open source. Now, just think about the work that's gone into that. So OKRs, fantastic. I'm with the program now, Jeremy. I wasn't before we started talking, but
woohoo! You got OK religion, is what I call it.
Oh, mate, I've caught the vision.
But here's the next thing, Jeff. You need to give everybody on your team You don't give them. Here's the thing about OKRs. Now that you have yours, you collaborate with them and you say, what do you think you can do to help my top level OKRs? This is what the business needs. How do you think you can contribute? You work with them, they set it, and then you give them that flexibility, and then you communicate with everybody. And of course, there's a good platform that you can use to manage all this, but we're not going to pitch that right now. That would be inappropriate.
We could help promote it, and we could talk about a special deal later.
I'm sure we can. Yeah, that's right. You should talk to the CMO there. He might be able to hook you up with some sponsorship money.
Well, yeah, but what's really good is this conversation about this is it's sort of, I'm finding that sort of the people I need just keep showing up in my life when I need them. The insights, the tools, the training. I've sort of, look, goals are great, but I think the other part of the goals, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, is that sometimes you have a vision how it's going to be, and you write down, these are all the numbers. And then the universe shows up and you have to do a 90% segue. Quite often organisations head off in one direction and the opportunity exists at 90 degrees to where you started. Because what you as a human viewed as the perfect result ends up being quite imperfect, because a goal is like we say, it's a goal you set, you just don't know what the universe is going to produce. You do not know what your customers are going to do. So it's more, setting that goal in a direction, but just, I think what's important is the action of moving forward in that direction and being flexible enough to pivot. What do you think about that in terms of really hard goals versus a direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it with the direction. And one of the things with OKRs that is part of the orthodoxy is that you want to set ambitious goals. And there's sort of a belief that even if you only hit 70% of your target, that's good, because that means you were trying to stretch. You don't want to set goals that you know you can hit. You want to set goals that force you to think of, at a higher level. So that's number one. Number two is it does give you that direction. Now, look, we're all hopefully near the tail end of like the biggest whiplash of that hopefully we'll ever see over the last 12, 13 months or whatever. So these things happen, and it's okay to look at your OKR and say, you know what, the world's totally flipped around on me here. We have to adjust. You're allowed to do that, but then you still need that discipline to say, okay, I'm going to change my OKR, but that means you're committing to that. So you don't want to change it every day or every week, but if something happens, sure, okay, readjust. This is the new direction. But what it does is every single morning when I wake up, I think about, what do I need to do today? Here's the thought process: is what's my OKR, my one OKR, my one objective, and I actually have 4 key results. What are my 4 key results? Okay, of all the millions of tasks I could do today, which one is the highest and best use of my time to push any one of those forward? Because as soon as I open up my email and my Slack and my Twitter, you know your day is going to blow up and get out of control. Mm-hmm. But if you have that one thing, you say, I'm just going to get this one thing done today, because that's the highest and best use of my time, then you know you've pushed your business forward in a meaningful way. That is really the power of this, and they call it the superpowers of this goal-setting methodology that I think I am betting is going to basically take over the world.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, one of my favorite books is The One Thing by Gary Keller. What I love, and I've talked to other entrepreneurs as well, is quite often they just leave their morning for doing the one important thing they need to do today. Because as we know, once you start going down the rabbit warren of emails, your life's over as you know it, really. And you know,
that's
you
exactly
come out,
what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And you open it up and you're going, in fact, I won't even open my emails. I'll scan to see there's nothing strategic in the morning, nothing important, like there's not a comment about the hit, Sydney. So once I've decided that there's no comets hitting Sydney today and there's no tsunami about to come up the harbour, and I just live a couple of metres above the water next to Sydney Harbour here, so I've just got to keep an eye on the water level sometimes here.
Fair enough.
open them up. I almost refuse to, unless there's one important one I need to do. Okay, but generally I sit down in the morning strategically. So I think it's really important to get that one thing done, and then the afternoon. Well, whatever you want to choose. It could be 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours, and then whatever, and then you could go cycling, or we could go, kayaking. So.
No, I agree. I mean, I had the same discipline to get up. I don't even. You're better than I am. If I check email, I'm gone. So I don't even look at my phone until about 9 o'clock in the morning, because I get up. I have a whole morning routine. That's when I do my blogging, and I say I'm going to spend 30 to 60 minutes on the one thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do, sort of 8 to 9-ish, give or take. And then I open it up and it's like, okay, I already got the one thing done.
Yep.
And then, the rest of the day blows up and it all goes to hell.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's really important. And it's up to you. This is what the flexibility of being human is about. You can make choices about what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
There you go.
So for me, it might be 2 hours in the morning, focusing on research and training for me on the product I want to launch this year. So, and then taking notes, and then next number one thing is distilling that into the team, and then we'll take it from there. But the afternoon's more, okay, we're going down the rabbit hole of responding to emails. We need to do some quotes and all that sort of fun stuff. So,
right.
But so the one thing is certainly a book I would recommend everyone, and also Gtmhub seems to have that nailed as well in terms of the software to help you do it. By the sounds of it, to me, that sounds really cool. So before we get into crypto, the side hustle, let's talk a little bit about Gtmhub. It is a software as a service tool that allows companies to scale OKRs, or create objectives and key results, and do those 4 things: alignment, focus, transparency, and engagement. Tell us a bit about how the tool works before we leap into the world of crypto.
Yeah, so I mean, we have a self-serve model. Our base plan starts at $1 per user per month, so it's extremely accessible for anybody. You come in, and the first thing we ask you to do is set your objective. And we actually, just like I sort of coached you real time here, we have an OKR design score. So you'll put your OKR in, and our tool will tell you how effective it is. Is it a strong OKR, or does it need help to make it even tighter? We want to help you be the best version of yourself, just like you're doing for all of your podcast listeners. So you'll come in and you'll say, we integrate with over 150 different business systems. So we're not looking to take you out of all the tools and platforms that you're using. What we are looking to do is help you stitch it all together so that you have an interface where you can look at any point at yourself or your organization and say, aha, the marketing guy's behind on the amount of leads he's generating. The sales guy's behind on his number, even though one's coming from HubSpot, one's coming from Salesforce. Our CFO, our accounts payable is low because that's coming from a distance. We have all these SaaS systems. What Gtmhub does is I sometimes will refer to it as a meta SaaS platform. It sits on top of it, integrates all of these, so you have that view into your business, and sort of red, yellow, green, where are the problem areas in real time? Where are these results? If you're trying to lose 10 kilos this quarter, and we know that there's a month left in the quarter and you haven't lost anything, that's flashing red. But if you're down and you've lost 8, yes, it's a high confidence level. So we can help you decide where should you spend your time and attention, because that's your most valuable commodity, right? We all only have 24 hours in a day. So if this is the part of the business that's suffering, or my marketing person is not delivering the website traffic that I hope, let me go check in with him and see what kind of help he needs so I can help him solve his problem, because he's an integral part of the team. So we integrate with all those systems. We give you the tools, the tools to measure how you're working, manage how you're moving towards your results, the KPIs that you need to know whether you're tracking in real time against them, and to do it across however large an organization you have, with reports and all these things. Again, not looking to replace everything that you have, but to sort of work together and in concert with that, so that you can really orchestrate your business for the results that you're hopefully trying to achieve each quarter. So, most people like it. Some people don't like it, but more like it than don't like it. And that's the key. But we're always working to make it better.
So it sounds like a dashboard that helps you connect the tools that help companies achieve results and gives you that visibility of where you are.
It gives you that dashboarding capability, and then you can say one thing that one feature that our customers love is that you have a tasking ability like you might have in Asana or something else. But what it forces you to do is say, if you're going to do a task, okay, Jeff, which key result is this going to affect? And it forces you through that process of, is this really going to move the needle on this particular activity? Because if not, why are you doing it, man? And it forces that type of discipline, and that's helping teams and individuals and organizations impose that level of discipline to stay focused on what matters most, on the results, on achieving the outcomes that you've set out for. And everything in the platform is designed to help you, and however big you is in this case, stay focused so that you can deliver whatever it is that you need to. And in our case, it might be a mission at the highest level of the organization, all the way down to I just need to deliver my quarterly sales numbers and everything in between. Fantastic. Whatever your mission is, it matters to you, and we help you sort of stay focused on that. If you like the plug for the message there.
I love it. In other words, it gives me a framework to stop me getting distracted too easily.
You should come work for us. You said it better than I did. That's exactly right. It is a framework.
Okay, so this is the day job. Not the day job, it's the result job. And you've got an approved affair, which is a side hustle.
Approved affair? Yep. It's an open relationship.
Yep, it is an open relationship. And I'm glad we're open about this.
That's right.
Don't tell your wife we're having a chat, by the way. She might get jealous.
Yeah.
It's an approved
She's
affair,
not your listener yet. Not yet.
So, the side hustle, crypto.
Yep.
And I'm going to read out... because you're also very involved with the crypto Futura fund, which apparently achieved 90% return in 2020.
We had a good year.
Yep. Now, what I read about the fund is that there are 4 myths about crypto, and I'm going to read them out. Okay, crypto assets are worthless. Crypto assets are for criminals. Crypto assets existing markets are good enough in this marketplace. Investing is all art or science. So that's the 4 myths about crypto that apparently Crypto Futura Fund is dispelling.
We are dispelling. That is correct. So
tell us a little bit about crypto and how you got into it and why you see it's going to save the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, at a high level, we've seen this, the over-centralization of technology has led to some of the things that you pointed out as part of the challenge that we're facing in the social media world. It's also led in China to total surveillance states. So you have either one of those bookends. That's dangerous.
Yep.
Decentralized technologies in the long run represent a phenomenal opportunity to increase security, safety for individuals, number one. Number two, as you also pointed out, see, not only can you sell OKRs, Jeff, you can sell crypto, because as you also pointed out, it democratizes finance. Right now, there are 2 billion people in the world who don't even have a bank account. There's so many barriers to getting a bank account. And if you don't have a bank account, you can't get a loan. You can't create a new business. There are all types of things you do, which means you are destined for a life of poverty. We can't afford to have that. So we need a system that allows people in a permissionless way to get access to financial tools and instruments. And so that's something that the crypto economic systems that are coming and are already here afford. They also provide a better store of value, and they respect individual property rights much more effectively than what we have right now. So, for example, Bitcoin being the classic example, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin created. Okay. I don't know exactly what's happening with the Central Bank of Australia, but I can tell you the US Federal Reserve has printed money in levels you can't even imagine. 35% of all dollars ever created have been created since last March.
Wow.
The numbers are off the charts. So I say to people, look, Bitcoin and these other crypto economic systems, you know exactly what the money supply is going to be every single day. In the fiat system that all of us know and somewhat understand, you have no idea. So your value that you've worked so hard to store up and save for the future for your retirement is being eroded away on a daily basis. So between the ability to give access to anybody who needs it at any point, anywhere, just all they need is, one of these things. Oh, you can't see it, it's a phone. Bad example there. Anyone access anytime, 24/7 markets, the ability to transact with anyone at any point for whatever reason you want, to be guaranteed some degree, guaranteed properties, or have the choice to custody your own information and your own value, and to have that protected by software as opposed to people and politicians. When you put all that together, that to me is one of the most powerful forces that we've seen. And I think it's going to revolutionize the financial. I know, I don't want to say no. I'm highly confident that it's going to revolutionize the financial system that we all know. And the world that we live in today will be as, antiquated as like thinking about sort of the mercantilist societies of the 1700s. It just won't make any sense to us, because we'll ask, and then the last part that I'll say is on a personal level is like, you look at these huge wealth disparities that we have, the top 1% getting richer and richer. These systems are designed to be more fair. They're not going to be perfect. In social media, I thought everything was going to get, all the problems were going to be solved. Whoops, I was wrong. I'm not naive enough this time to say that crypto systems will solve everything. But I believe fundamentally they will be more fair, more open, more respectful, more secure than the systems we have now. And I think people will gravitate toward them. First, they'll come for the economic opportunity and to make a quick buck. But once they see the value that these systems offer and the experiences that they offer, they'll stay for that reason. And you'll start to see huge amounts of value transfer. And it's already happening. It's already happening.
Yeah, and that's fascinating. So, just disclaimer, I do own, a bit of Bitcoin.
Good.
Also, how did I get paid? I did some work for Russians, all above board, by the way. Yep. But the Russians paid me in crypto, Bitcoin. I pulled a little bit out, like you said. You sold a few, or sold a bit of mine. I should have left it in because it would have been worth about 10 times more than it was 12 months ago.
Yep.
I have doubled down and bought some more Bitcoin recently.
Good for you.
And what's very interesting is that, and one of the reasons I'm doing that, number one, I've seen it rise and rise and rise in last year. Number two, there's quite a few ticks. When you see more than 3 or 4 ticks, you're going, okay, so PayPal last year leapt in and basically validated it. Okay.
Yep.
Then Elon Musk came in and bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yep.
Now we're hearing big banks and Wall Street starting, and then we got Ray Dalio, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world. He's just given a big tick. I'm going, okay, this is completely non-scientific, but it's more just watching the activities of and trends. Because quite often the magic's in the pattern, not the ups and downs of the day-to-day.
Yep.
So
the social proof is there. You got it, man.
Yeah. So, and the other thing that and you mentioned it, there's only 21 million Bitcoins going to be produced, which is one of only a few cryptocurrencies, but it is still the main one which has the most visibility and I suppose credibility. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's the gold standard. It's the reserve currency of the crypto world. That's what I call it.
So that's why I'm not offering any financial advice, disclaimer. This is just what Jim's doing. So no, so tell us a little bit about the Crypto Futura Fund and how that plays, and why did you get a 90% return?
Well, I like to think it's because we're total absolute geniuses, but
well, that goes without saying.
That's probably not it. Look, I mean, there are over 10,000 or more crypto assets available right now. So if you remember back in the early .com days, there were plenty of those. The challenge in a market like this is finding the needles in the haystack, right? So we tell people is we are looking for the crypto version of the FANGs, the Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, the crypto FANGs. Somewhere in that 10,000 assets are the ones the highest value that over time could return and no promises. And if my compliance lawyer hears, I want to be very clear, like I'm not promising anything. I'm saying theoretically, you could see 10, 100, or 1,000x returns on some of these. I'm not kidding. Potentially, no promises, all that stuff. So what we're saying is, look, I've been in this space for 4.5 years. My partner is the world's leading expert on rare earth minerals. Now, why is that important? Because he spent his entire life trying to figure out how to value rare physical assets. What blockchain does for the first time ever, and everyone's talking about NFTs these days, you probably heard that term thrown around. What blockchain does for the first time is it allows for digital scarcity. Provable digital scarcity. So all we said is, let's take this model that he developed on the physical side, superimpose it on the digital side, combine it with my expertise in this space, and theoretically, we have a better chance of finding the ones that will turn into the crypto unicorns than somebody who's just randomly throwing a dart against the board. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but that's the game plan. And so far, at least over the last 14, 15 months or so, it's looking good. But everyone's a genius in a bull market. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of years.
Yeah, the other thing that's fascinating too is that there is so much liquidity in the market at the moment, and
it's obscene.
So, and what's that cash trying to do? It's trying to find a home where it gets a return. So, and if you're not earning any interest, like I think in some countries it's negative. In Australia, our interest rate now is down to 0.1%. So having $1 million in the bank account's just not working hard enough, frankly. So there's just so much money washing around chasing a return. And this is why you're seeing, I suppose part of the reason that Bitcoin's gone up, and also part of the reason that stock markets have gone up, because there's no point having cash in the bank.
Cash is trash, as Dalio says. Yeah, I mean, there's a worldwide yield famine right now. I mean, where are you going to go for yield? So you have to go after it. And I think people see the value prop. As I say to people, look, I don't want to sell you on Bitcoin or crypto. All I want to say is this thing's been around for 12 years. The network has never gone down, never been hacked. There are 21 million of these. There's an infinite number of these. Where's the value going to go? You don't need to be a Nobel Prize winning economist to figure that one out.
Yep. Limited supply, huge demand. The rest is history.
Don't overthink it. The rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're seeing it. We're seeing it. I mean, this is, I mean, I could go on all day, but I shouldn't, because I'll get in trouble with the SEC or something like that. I can't afford that. It's a hassle.
Yeah. Look, it's both these areas, what OKRs I think was, and you know what? I never heard of an OKR until today, even though I did read Peter Drucker's book. Obviously missed that acronym in the...
Well, it's not, don't feel bad, because it's not in Drucker. Drucker just invented... Yeah, you're good, man. You're good. Don't worry about it.
I thought I'd misread, didn't read page 533. No, I missed... Okay. So,
you're good. Thank
God. Okay. So, crypto. It is a fascinating area. I'm a sort of more concrete sort of guy, as in I have trouble with abstraction versus physical. I do like assets like property, for example, because I can feel it and touch it, and I can live in it, if you know. But I've had some dilemmas over the years with property, and I've had some opportunities over the years with property as well. So, crypto. You've also mentioned something to me about there's a lot of different digital or cryptocurrencies being created, which you mentioned to me the other day, which I found quite fascinating when you said happy birthday. You mentioned you could create your own cryptocurrency, which you could help people buy and sell. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. Well, think about this. You have a community of people who really appreciate the content that you put out. Imagine that you created a Jeff Bullis coin. And with that coin, I could have certain rights. So for example, because this is digital, it's programmable. So you can assign certain rights. So for example, let's say Jeff Bullis coin level 1 means I get premium access to your podcast the day before it comes out. Great. What if I have a programmable level 2 that I've paid a little bit more for, which means anytime you're speaking, once this whole COVID nonsense is over, I get a front row seat to any event where you speak. And that's worth a little bit more. And those are tradable. And there becomes a market for that. And you can issue them. You can reduce the supply of them. You can offer coins for your consulting periods. So you're going to start seeing individual creators, just like social's promise was to develop one-on-one relationships with their fans. That's an information based and a conversation. Now these coins are going to allow us to disintermediate the financial system and allow you to have a direct relationship with your fans on a value-based level. You're going to see this in music. You're going to see this in art. You're going to see this in gaming. You're going to see this in the creator economy. People like yourself, you're going to be able to do all kinds of things, and there'll be an economy that people say, I've got 5 Jeff Bezos coins. That's worth a keynote. And I just redeem it.
I reckon. So what I could do, I'm just thinking of coming up with a name for this. It could be the bull coin, not Bitcoin, the bull coin.
Bullcoin. I like it. I like it. Go. Yep. You should go do that right now.
Yeah. Bullis coin. Not the same ring. I used to get called names at school based upon my name. Bullis, bull ass, bullshit, bulldog.
I could see that. Yeah.
But
that was until you kicked their ass, right?
That's right. Well, yeah, I was a huge guy. Like I'm, 7'3" and 300 pounds.
There you go. Don't mess with Bullis, the bull coin.
That's right. Okay, so what was I going to say? So cryptocurrencies are fascinating. I do have a bit of Bitcoin, which is great.
Well, let me throw one more example in there to make it real. You said you're a concrete guy, and you said you got paid by the Russians above board, which I love how you said. Here's the story I tell people, is that early on in my crypto journey, I had 2 clients who each owed me about $1,000 of expenses, like not a lot of money. One was in Switzerland, one was in London. I live in the US. The Swiss guys wanted to do everything by the traditional system. So they wanted to do a wire transfer. It took 3 weeks. It was rejected 2 times. And by the time I got my $1,000, I paid something like $81 in fees for it. The guys in London said, we'll pay you in a cryptocurrency. That one happened to be Ether. I got paid in 10 seconds and it cost 4 cents in fees. And I looked at this and I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to get paid over the traditional wire system ever again. I will refuse it. I would rather get paid. Like, who's going to wait 3 weeks and pay $71? So for remittances, think about that. That's why it's blowing up in Africa. All these remittance channels where people are sending money back to Nigeria and Ghana and places like that. Those Mexico from the US, those channels right now, because otherwise these money transfer systems or transmitter services are charging you, 8, 10, 15, 19% fees. It's offensive because it's less the people who can least afford to pay it, and it's slow. Use crypto, and that's what's going to happen. It's already starting to happen.
Yeah, it's look, I've been paid by wire transfer. I've been using PayPal because it's basically that's instant, which is good. They take their fee, but the bank's fee.
They take a big fee, yeah.
Well, but the other thing too about the banks is they not only take the fee, they actually then play with the exchange rate and there's a little secret fee in the back end of that. And you're going,
that's right.
I know what you guys are doing. And
people are tired of getting shafted by the banks, and so they're going to find another. And now, 15 years ago, there was no alternative, and now there's an alternative. It's free market for where value gets transferred, and that's and it's a competitive environment. And I think people will once the usability gets better, and there's plenty of things. I mean, this is like the 56K dial-up modem days of crypto, so we're still very early.
Yeah.
Once it gets better, it's lights out.
It is going to be fascinating to watch, and I am playing a bit, just curiosity. I haven't bet the home. I haven't bet the home.
No, don't do that.
No, but I do have a hold, and I'm treating it as a long game, which we've talked.
I tell people, I say, look, take whatever percent of money from your portfolio that you're comfortable losing, 3%, 4%. Go put it into Bitcoin. And again, this is not financial advice, so none of that. But if you were to theoretically do that, you would put it and then don't look at it for 10 years. And here's what happens. If it's total shit, it goes to zero and you still have 97% of your portfolio.
That's right.
And if it works, I mean, it works big.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It was I was reading some stuff about crypto the other day, and there's one of the top finance guys in the States said he thought it was bullshit, but said, I now have 3% of my total portfolio in it. And that's, so there you go. The number you use is what one of the top guys said in the US, one of the major investors.
He's giving financial advice. I'm not. There you
No,
go.
exactly. But yeah, be prepared to lose it all. I think if you're just in that position and take a long position, that's sort of how I'm playing. And
that's right.
Again, no financial advice here. But there's an interesting
We're gonna get
story.
in trouble. I feel this.
We could get into trouble. No, we're good. We're disclaimers everywhere here.
Disclaimers everywhere. Right, exactly.
So there was an interesting story that I heard about. A piece of digital art was created and then sold last week, I think, for 65 million.
Yep.
And also verified and protected by cryptocurrency. Tell us a little bit about that. I thought it was fascinating.
It is fascinating. So the fundamental premise is that digital items are going to have value in the future. They already have value today and they'll have value in the future. The basic concept here is that the proof of ownership lies in a digital token, a crypto token, cryptographically secured token, that the owner of this image, who paid 60 some million dollars for, now holds. So it's basically the difference between, and then anyone else can look at the picture, anyone else can download it. People say, well, why does that have value? The reason why it has value is the difference between having the actual Mona Lisa and a copy of the Mona Lisa. You might have someone do a perfect one, but in the art world, the forgery is not as valuable as the authentic one. So this digital token proves that the guy who spent 60 million is the owner of it. And here's where it gets super sexy. When he sells it, because it's programmable, 10% of the sale price goes back to the artist, which never happens in the traditional art world. You don't get, especially as artists, as it accrues in value, you don't get that. But in this one, every sale from then on, 10% goes back to the artist. So you have this provable chain of custody of who owns the actual artwork that was basically like, think of it like a digital signature of one that the artist has signed, like you, Jeff, own this particular piece of art. Sure, other people have it and they can look at it, but who's the one owner in the world? It's Jeff, because he just dropped $60 million on it. And when you sell it for $100 million, $10 million goes back to the artist because it's programmable. It's written into the actual software code. And then whoever you sell it to, now that person's the owner. And the provenance of that art is never in doubt because it's secured by the blockchain, regardless of the fact that 1 million people can have it as their screensaver if they want, but there's only one owner, and we all know who it is.
That's pretty awesome, because that means that the creators who actually are creating, and I think, I certainly have a belief that as humans, we are all innately creative in all sorts of different ways. We're all unique. That the creators can be protected in the future, and get rewarded for their art and their creation through cryptocurrency. That's pretty exciting. And
it's very exciting. It's great. I mean, I'm with you. It's going to be a whole new world of creator empowered economies and communities.
Yeah. And so the world I grew up in, where there was, I grew up in a world where TV was black and white. And grew up in a world without smartphones,
right?
And we couldn't live without a smartphone. Now it's like part of our brain,
right?
So it's a fascinating world we live in. I never take it for granted, and I still, even though I live in it, it's just and to hear more about cryptocurrencies today, and also the unknown, acronym OKR that's now known, because now I know it, so now it should be known.
That's all that matters.
So I think it's been a fascinating conversation, Jeremy, to chat about OKRs and Gtmhub and what they're doing. I'm going to investigate a bit more of that myself, and we're going to have a conversation about that as well. And also your side hustle, which is your open affair with crypto, which is so great to hear. And I think I understand a little bit more about it and I look forward to seeing what the future unfolds. And also, I'm going to just we're going to keep in touch. I've got to get your birthday date so I can ring you on your birthday now. I've actually started doing that last 3 years. My partner in the past, she taught me that skill. You've just taken it to a whole new level, which is fantastic. So I'm going to keep an eye on you, Jeremy, because I think you've got an eye for the future, and you're good at chasing rainbows with a pot of gold at the end. So it's really,
thank you.
I think you've got a gift, and we'll be in touch. And I love watching what you're doing, and it's been an absolute joy to chat to you. And I look forward to sharing this conversation with our audience. So thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the questions, and it's an honor to have been here. So thank you.